Everyone wants to spend as much in retirement as they did when they were working, but how much can you really spend in retirement without risking that you run out of money? There's an old rule that many people have heard of, maybe you have too, called the 4% rule. The problem is that this rule was developed in a time in the economy that was completely different. The reality is that there's a lot of research that suggests the safe withdrawal amount is actually somewhere between 3 and 4%. Not only that, but have you ever tried anything that was one size fits all? How did that fit? Not really well, right? Retirement planning is the same way. Most rule of thumb strategies aren't good for many people. So we're going to talk about how you can figure out how much you can spend in a year in retirement so that you don't overspend and risk failing your retirement plan. And I just want to say welcome to all of the new people watching our show lately. I'm Thiago, and my team and I are advisors to federal employees. So if you're planning retirement, or maybe you're already retired, then consider subscribing for our weekly videos on how to make a better and stronger retirement plan. And if you're not on our free newsletter, you're really missing out. We don't really email that often, but we send out things that we don't cover here in the videos. In fact, our team will put a link in the description so you can sign up for that if you're interested. All right, so let's get into how to figure out how much you can spend. The first thing you need to know is that the right number is actually different for everyone. Check this out. This graphic shows 3 portfolios that all had the same annualized return. And all 3 of these portfolios also had money coming out each year, just like in retirement. So if they all had the same annualized return, how is it that we have 3 completely different scenarios? Only one of these plans was sustainable, the other was in danger, and one of them completely ran out of money altogether. How is this possible? Well, one variable that's present here is the order in which the returns were given. Even though they each had the same annualized return, the order of those returns were different. This is called sequence of returns risk, and it's a major factor that could destroy a retirement plan. And the reason it's so dangerous is because how can you really know that you're in this situation? In this example, this family in the orange probably didn't realize that they were in trouble here, or even here, or maybe here and here. They had no clue that their plan was not on track anymore. And this is because they still had a pretty good chunk of change, right? And this brings us to the first lesson about this. Sometimes your acceptable spending rates have to change. You see, real retirement planning is making sure that your plan still is on track to help you meet your goals. Whether that's financial independence or traveling more, helping the kids, whatever your objectives are. And often a plan doesn't fail overnight. It typically takes years for people to recognize, hey, wait a minute, we're pretty far from where we need to be. And often by that point, it may actually be too late for you to simply just do a easy course correction. There may have to be drastic changes by that point to get your plan back on track. So in this scenario, maybe one solution could have been to slow down spending just slightly, maybe by something like less than $1,000 a month for about a year or so, just to allow their plan to get back on its feet if the markets go crazy and they caught it early enough. Because remember, you don't have control over the markets, but you do have control over how you use the markets as a tool for your goal. So if this family was too aggressive and it put them on this track, maybe slightly dialing back the spending may have given their portfolio time to recover. Now, how much is that number? What's required? These are all things that can be modeled out in financial planning. So how does this manifest? Well, let's say they maybe have a loan on their HELOC, home equity line of credit, for a renovation that they are paying off over time. Maybe they don't make those payments. Okay, they'll have interest payments that are going to grow that balance, but perhaps that's better than a failed retirement plan. Another way this manifests is perhaps someone is about to do a renovation or put a pool in the backyard. Maybe if there's a year that's really bad in the markets, perhaps you don't do that giant bolus payment all at once. Maybe you wait 1 year if by doing that, the models show that your plan could be in danger. Again, there's virtually endless possibilities and knobs and levers that we can change in a retirement plan to reset that trajectory back towards success. And so obviously we understand that changing a plan like that, if you intended on doing something and you have to push it off, we understand that's not ideal. And sometimes it doesn't have to be this way if you can plan well ahead of time, allowing that if you arrive to a situation like this, you don't need to make changes because they've already been baked in. For instance, many of our clients, as soon as they come up to retirement, they typically want to spend a little bit more in early retirement. So perhaps doing more traveling, or maybe they have grandkids that they want to splurge on, or things like that. Plus, if you think about it, the early years of your retirement, we call those your GoGo years, because you've got the time now, you've got the energy, and you've got the finances to just go and do things that are important to you. So practically, this translates to perhaps this is their retirement plan. We have a portion of their plan that is carved out to support this additional level of higher spending earlier on. So even if the markets aren't really performing very well, perhaps there are some investments that are just still throwing off the income that will support this higher level of spending despite the markets. And so then you get to have that peace of mind that says, hey, you know what? I know that the markets aren't doing so well right now, but I can see that in our retirement plan, it doesn't matter for these next few years because we've got things set up in a way that we can keep doing the traveling that we want to do and allow the markets to recover. And we call this living your lives uninterrupted by the market's temper tantrums. And this can be a very freeing feeling to have in retirement. Clients who work with us want to know that now their money is working for them and supporting them so that they can continue to live their lives without having to worry about it. And the cool thing about this is that your spending may actually be higher than 4% for some years of your retirement plan. And if your plan was set up and created to take this into consideration, it can still be successful because there's balance along the way. Maybe that means something as simple as moving your Social Security up by an extra year so you get a little bit more. Maybe in the models it shows that that is enough to be able to offset. Or maybe it's a different investment allocation in your portfolio. There are certain kinds of investments that are really good for generating that stable cash flow and income that people need in retirement. The point is that there really isn't the right number for everyone to be spending in retirement. Just like the treatment that a doctor will give their patient is going to depend on how they're behaving or reacting to the treatment, right? And I want to show you exactly how this models out so that you can see how it all works together. If you've not seen me use this before, this is the software that we use to plan together with our clients. And these blue lines here are projected portfolio values over time and into the future. And these toggles over here on the left are changes to the sample retirement plan that we've built into the system. So we've got things like what if there's a lower Social Security or a change to your regular living expenses, etc. But we're gonna focus on this one here at the bottom, which would be this retirement plan spending around $4,000 a month more than they currently do for the first 6 years of their retirement. And so sometimes this will be extra traveling because somebody wants to do that early in retirement. And obviously you can see that there is a pretty big impact, but because of how we set up the rest of the plan, the projection shows that this sample family is probably going to be okay. They have a pretty good chunk of change at the end of their plan. And if we look at some other reports, we have an 83% probability of success on this when we run a Monte Carlo analysis. But let's say they're maybe really not comfortable with this. Well, like I mentioned earlier, there are things that you can do, like maybe using a different investment strategy that pays you more income that can help make this scenario look a little better. And so when we turn on this investment strategy, now we have a pretty big jump in the projection, and there's significant value that's now been added back to this plan. And if you've watched this far, then we know that you're a loyal fan and we could use your help. Maybe you've heard already, but our goal is to help 300,000 federal employees by 2030. And the only way we're gonna be able to do that is if you help share and spread the word about our videos and our articles. And so we hope that you'll help us and join us on our next video. Until then, stay wise and stay wealthy.